Okay, and now let me introduce our guest today. It's my pleasure to host my special friend, Randolf Speigner. Randolf, warm welcome to you. How are you?
Thank you. I'm excited, like usual, when I speak, and I'm happy to be here so that we have a meaningful dialogue today, hopefully. That's my intention, at least.
Okay, let me introduce you. So Randolf is a transformation facilitator, coach, and a student. In his commitment to help evolving our systems, Randolph co-founded the Co-Grow space. After 2 decades of working with leaders, teams, and business units in global enterprises to bring a different voice to enterprise transformation work. I'm really curious to hear this different voice tonight. As a global citizen, Randolph collaborates with leaders in human transformation. Randolph takes great satisfaction in offering his guidance to practitioners as they realize their full potential and capacity in regenerative transformation. He's committed to design and lead cohorts for teams of leaders and change agents to enable effective change in their organizations.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would like to add on top of this, Randolph?
I'm the father of 2 girls, and I'm originally from Salzburg in Austria. I love nature and yeah, anything else we can talk about later.
Awesome. So today we'll be guided by Randolph, and we are going to engage in a collaborative workshop, leveraging the 4 lenses of integral agility. And as a first activity in this session, I'm going to divide you across a few breakout rooms so that you can have like a proper check-in in a small groups. Just say hello, and hopefully maybe during the your check-in round, if you could also briefly share your experience and feeling on to what extent agile transformations bring the change you would like to see in organizations. That would be like the first context setting discussion. So let me just now split you across the rooms. There is you'll spend like 5 minutes or 4 minutes in the rooms. I'll create, let's say, 5 rooms should be more or less okay. All right, so see you back in 5 minutes.
Have fun.
Okay, so the rooms are now open.
Are you there? A taster. Yeah, thank you for that, Piotr. And what we would like to have is a meaningful dialogue, right? Like I have already said at the beginning. And also, what I want to introduce you to is a practice that I have done a couple of times in a physical setting. And it's a little experiment as well today. So we try it here. And it opens dialogue, and it surfaces stuff. And that's the main purpose of doing such an exercise, for example, with a leadership team or with a group where you want to find a relatively fast way to align And you can run this practice with up to 27 people. That's possible in a room, maybe even a bit more, but 24, 21, that's the optimum. Before I start, I just want to give you a little bit about my stance on transformation. And the first statement would be that our systems, meaning me or we or any organizational systems, are run by patterns which are invisible. And in order to facilitate transformation or to enable transformation, the system needs to see itself. So we need to, we are used to, cover up and not be with what's uncomfortable. But what we actually want to do is we want to include what comes up in conflict situations, or in when we have different perspectives. And probably the most important thing to know is that we don't know what we don't know. And so a certain openness, that's also a very important thing for me, at least. Listening is a key for having a meaningful dialogue, and this is also a key. A meaningful dialogue is actually important to, get out of this debate stance where we always are kind of repeating our same arguments and play the ping pong game, as we want to integrate different perspectives to move on. So that's a little bit about my stance. The integral for lenses is, or it's like fundamental perspectives that we see in all languages. Like you have a first person perspective, and maybe I can also share the mural where we are going to be. Can you see the screen share? So, yeah.
Yep. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And I also just want to see you, so I rearrange this here. My windows a little bit. So what we see here is the I perspective, which is leadership and culture. So it's about mindset, it's about developmental maturity of leaders and team members. It's also about how our thinking patterns, our patterns of emotions. So that's out of the I perspective. Then we also have the we perspective. So this is the organizational culture. So it's the relationship domain, right? It's about also unspoken rules. It's about maybe the collective conscience, right? Where you feel, that's possible to do here, but if I go over this threshold, maybe that's not so good. What you also can see is that there are 4 dimensions. There is the vertical dimension, which is the individual side on the top, which is represented by the leadership mindset on the left. And practices and behavior on the right. So that's more or less, if you think about that, our behavior and the way we practice is the expression of our inner world on the outside, then this is the individual part on the top. On the bottom, you have the collective, right? You have the we, the culture, and the relationships. And on the right side, you have the organizational architecture, meaning the structures, the policies, governance, the ability to change structures. That would be in that lens. And what we want, what this framework helps us is to encourage to go beyond. We will share the Miro link in a moment. So what this encourages is that we look beyond our go-to place, right? We all tend to have one perspective that we use to solve problems, and we want to go towards perspectives that we usually are not so familiar with. Yeah. Are there any questions at this point, or how does this resonate with you?
Are you going to dig into these different domains that you talk about here to understand the differences between them? At a level of detail we won't get to today.
We will get a level detail, and we will also use this for an exercise. So this is basically to warm us up.
Okay.
So let's get rid of this here.
Sorry, Randolph, quick question from me.
Yeah.
Can you repeat? Okay, no, I see here, in and out. Okay, I can see here. The dimension, fine.
Exactly, these are the dimensions. You have the individual on the top, right? And the collective on the bottom. And you have the inner, and you have the outer. So the I perspective, that's leadership, that's leadership and mindset. That's wrong here. Maybe just change that. That's leadership and mindset. That's the thinking patterns, you know. And you also, it's from, nobody can look into ourselves, right? But it's the way we think, the way we make sense, the way we value things. So for example, and I already start to introduce the exercise, because we want to, what's also important is that evolution happens through becoming aware what's limiting us, and also becoming aware where the prototype of the future is already showing up. So the exercise that we are going to do today is basically going through those 4 quadrants and identifying what's unhealthy and what's healthy in a given system. And this is also what I would suggest in a setup where you are physical, or where you do this with a team. And to make it practical, so for example, in the I quadrant, it's really important, it's really useful to make sentences from the I perspective, right? So for example, something healthy could be, I question my beliefs, and that's an example. Something which is unhealthy, you know, in a given, maybe it depends on the system, and it depends on the people that are in the room, right, to come up with those statements. But an example could be, what's unhealthy could be, I want to win. So that's the I perspective. The practices and behavior perspective, this is where we basically show up. So it's how we fulfill our role. It's the individual practice that we have. It's so on this side we use he, she, it, or even the concrete, for example, like here. An example could be the product owner, all it is well established and owns priorities. This could be a healthy expression of the given system. Another example, for example, the retrospective it, a practice, is left out. So that's the two individual perspectives, the inner and the outer. And then on the collective side, we have basically the same. So relationship and culture, meaning also the conscience, I mentioned it before. So really, what are the unspoken rules? This is what we want to look at here. And an example could be we embrace conflict as we grow. Unhealthy could be we remain silent when our boss's opinion disturbs us. So that's the culture perspective. You could also say that culture is the collective mindset, right? And you always are a situation, a given organization is always showing up in all those four perspectives. So it's four lenses that you can use to look at a given situation, to look at a given team, to look at maybe a bigger unit or even a whole organization, depending on what you put into the middle, into the center. You know, what's the focal system that we are talking about. And then last but not least, the lower right. So that's the expression of the collective. So, you know, that's the manifestation of the culture in the organizational structure, in policies, in any governance rules, and so on. An example here could be their structure continually improves around value streams. Maybe that's valuable and healthy in a given culture. Something unhealthy could be their performance management process focuses on individual performance. So these are the four quadrants. And this is also the essence of what we would like to do in the exercise that I will introduce you in a minute after we check in how this resonates, or if there are any questions regarding this. So this is really just as much about the integral four lenses so that you can start to do this exercise. Yeah, and that's possible to do that with a group of people. And it's not important to it's not a black and white game. It's not important to, you know, that's exactly there. But the main purpose is the dialogue that we have. So, any questions at this point? Or rather, did this speak to your question? Yeah, we don't hear you, but
yes, I said absolutely.
And I think there was another question before, if we could go one level deeper. Is this level good now?
So that was my question, and it is and not quite isn't, because there are overlaps in some of the categories you identify in the quadrants. And so what I'm trying to see if I have clarity in terms of if you were to hand me the framework and say, go talk to this group of people and help them understand this, where those lines of distinction are that you would draw so that you clarity of what belongs in which quadrants. I still don't really understand. Maybe getting a better definition of each of the quadrants. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be pedantic. You know, it's just I'm trying to understand how. If I always think about these things, how could I replicate this? If someone handed me this and said, "Can you use this? Can you go forward and work with a group of people to help them understand this?" And I'm still not there yet, but it's early. The night is young, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we try it out
Sure.
in the practice, and we do a debrief later anyway. But as a guidance, maybe it's important to look at the dimensions first, right? So on the upper two quadrants, you have the individual perspective. So it's about the individual. So, and the inner of the individual is what I think, you know. So if you want to fill in this quadrant, you put yourself into the perspective of the individual. So how might people in our organization think? What they're thinking, and if you ask yourself about what's healthy and what's unhealthy, of course, this is. You can also look inside. You know, we have all kinds of demons in us, or voices that we don't like so much. So this can be also be there, right? But also, what might people think? And on the other side, the outer is what we can actually observe. It's the objective perspective of the individual. So how do people show up? What's their behavior? So that's for the upper part. For the
No,
lower,
I understand that. And so the concern I have is that, you know, any organization, there's going to be a distribution of personality types, like there is in society, right? When you start to see a behavior set that starts to become more common across the organization, it's usually not because you just only hired those people, could be, but generally it's because you've created policies, procedures, and reward systems that have instilled that kind of behavior. So I don't know if it's as cleanly delineatable that you could say, well, these are how these individuals think, because it's really driven by how the organization has rewarded and in some cases punished people for thinking certain ways. So you really drive it from that. I guess you could see the manifestations in the individual and say, well, did we just all hire the same kind of guy? Or did we create these monsters by how we define what as an organization we want to be? Maybe that's how to look at it, so that you can understand those implications.
Yeah, as I said, it's not black and white. Yeah, and I think the main purpose is to consciously move through different perspectives and consciously go look at situations, organizations from different perspective. And of course, it's always a matter of alignment of language in the given case to find each other. Yeah, and
Right.
that's also a purpose of the exercise. So let's try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would try it from the woke perspective, you know.
The woke perspective.
From a woke perspective, is you're good, so is you're fine, you're bad, you're not fine, you have to adjust yourself to my thinking, what is right and wrong, and be very paternalistic, you know, this kind of thing, like the MBTI, you're in this square, so I keep you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there are voices in the organization here. It's about, hey, what do we value, what do we not value in a given culture?
Yeah.
I really like your examples, Mark. Like, did we hire yet another the same person, with the same profile, or do we keep growing? Same.
Mark, what is your feeling if you have just a full team of mid-aged white male?
Yeah, like, this is pretty typical. Like, and it's very narrowing down, right? It's very kind of, once you get to this path, it's very difficult to notice this, right? And I personally like treat this frame as a frame. Actually, yeah, exactly. Like it makes me aware of the four lenses and allows me to see my actions and our hiring process from these four perspectives. So that, you know, helps to avoid bias.
Good, thank you. Now, I have to tell you some more things to get you into the exercise. So I will just maybe, or I leave the examples. That's good. So what we are going to do is now is that we will we will offer you to go into 4 breakout rooms. So for it, there will be 4 breakout rooms for every quadrant 1. And the breakout room number 1 starts at leadership and culture. Breakout room number 2 starts at practices and behavior, and so on. We will give you, and then you have about 3 to 4 minutes to align as a group from this perspective, what's healthy for you, what's unhealthy. That's in the first round. So every group is in one quadrant always. After we give you a signal, you move on clockwise to the next one. And so that we have an overview, please take your token with you. And when you arrive at a given, at the next quadrant, you will see things that the group has already left there, right? Because a group was before you. When you agree with the statement, you give a checkbox. If you don't agree, you put an X. If it puzzles you, you put a question mark. And we will go through this quadrant by quadrant. So there are 4 rounds, about 3 minutes at each point. And you have, remember, you have when you go there, you first need to read what's there. And you need to see what's there, and then you can add stuff that you can that you can come up with. And then you will arrive at the last quadrant, where you started, and you can see what happened, and just stay there for a minute to also say, here I agree, here I don't agree, and here I have questions. And then we will come back and we will do a debrief, and especially look at those things that we don't agree about.
Could you share the link for the board?
Yes, yes, I do. Now we don't have a common organization, so we need to put something into the middle. And as we did at the XP in the big room, I think we should. I mean, my proposal is to put the agile community into the middle. So what are unhealthy patterns that we see in the agile communities? What are healthy patterns that we can see in the agile community? And by this, we go through the 4 lenses. Is this clear enough to start?
Yeah, I guess.
So I put the link to your mural into the chat. And Piotr, you can open the rooms. And remember, please take your tokens with you when we prompt you to go to the next quadrant in a clockwise order.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for people to show up in the mural. I'll split you into 4 rooms.
Well, we know which room we're in.
And there will be a number in the room meeting.
Okay, and we'll correlate those numbers to these.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Thank you, Mark, for clarifying.
Breakout rooms.
If you need help, you can call us.
Okay, 4 breakout rooms. Let's try this one. Okay, there are 4 or 3 persons in each room, so that sounds very nice. Okay, so the timing, when it comes to timing, we expect you to spend like 4 minutes in each quadrant.
Yeah, and we will prompt you to move on. Yeah, so relax until we prompt you, and then you move on.
Okay, see you in a while, guys. Good luck.
Way too short. Way too short.
What else? How was it?
Interesting.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in a real setting, much more time is needed, and we also learned that some of you didn't see the Zoom messages, the messages to move.
Yeah.
So a learning for us is to really that we use the tokens and tell you with this, hey, that's where you need to be now. Anyway, any voices? Because we are at the half. The practice has 2 parts, right? The debrief is also important. But is there anything in the room right now?
In the group number 1, we had a nice conversation. We shared our ideas and people are reflecting and say, what the heck are you talking about? So it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
And we were constructively debating.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that was the start. Thank you, Pierre. Anything else? Because, you know, this is, let's say, this what we just have done. If you imagine you are in a room with a leadership group, this is setting the stage until now, because now it becomes really interesting. Because now we will move with the whole group from one quadrant to the next, and the group who started there facilitates what's interesting, namely the conflicts, right? So that's why it's important that we actually mark the items that are already here. Where we have a check mark, it's okay, there we are aligned. Where we have an X or a question mark, we want to go into a conversation about, for example, if we look at the lower right quadrant, there is a question mark with the bonus system. So I could ask who or what was meant with bonus system, because somebody probably has written this. Marvin.
I put it the question to say bonus system, it can be good or not good. So it's not the problem in bonus system, but the problem is how we implement it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the question.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. Who wrote the?
This comes from me actually. This point, and it was exactly meant like you just put it. I mean, if it's focused on individual performance and performance appraisal, so the importance is put on the individual performance, not on the collective one. So depends on the design of the bonus system. So that was meant with this. Yeah. So it is, yeah, not so good if it's focused on pure individual performance.
And I will add a complexity in it. It's also very cultural. Because if you go in the north, like Copenhagen, or you go in north, is the collective work is just how they work. It's very natural. If you go in Morocco, you lose everyone. It's not bad, it's cultural. So we have to adjust to the context. So maybe the path to go think collective will be a little bit different.
And just to add, we're looking at the diagram
that shows where the I, the individual, is important, as is the other quadrants. So that's probably, I think, a downside of Agile. There is too much emphasis on the lower left. There's not enough attention given, for example, to the individual.
Mhm. Thank you. I mean, at the moment we are, and we will get there. At the moment we are debrief. We are just talking about the bonus system, right? And my question would be, if we put ourselves in the situation of the workshop, because we have now, I think, an alignment, because I updated this post-it with the bonus system focuses on individual performance. So I would ask now, are we aligned now that this is unhealthy, that we focus on individual performance? And Pierre, you said there's cultural differences where you need individual performance. Is this how I can understand it?
It's okay for me.
Or you have to balance it. You see, the way to understand that a collective matters is more complicated. I see here Morocco, but was a lot in Middle East, is the same thing. India, the same thing. China, the same thing too. So we just have to understand. You can say, okay, we can handle over. There's a lot of this conversation exists since over 15 years in the Agile community, and we want to go there, but here you have to fight against something else. It's about HR policies, company policies, and you have to even if you rise it up from at the leadership level, you say, am I free? Do I have the mandate to even to change the corporate policy? Do you have the mandate to adjust the HR policies to allow to get the bonuses at the team level and then maybe spread out through the team members?
Yeah. And see, we have different perspectives on the same matter. And this is what we need this exercise for, to actually align on it. Because if we align what is healthy and what is unhealthy in our organization from the 4 perspectives, then we also know where we are. We also are aligned on what's limiting us. And we also are aligned on where we want to go. And this is what we need to actually take a step. So I think this is enough. This one example is enough, and you see this can be a lengthy process, right? But still, it's a very relatively fast process to get a group of leaders aligned quickly. And of course, there will be a lot of emotion. There will be a lot of energy in the room during this exercise.
I will make it. I will use it next week.
Yeah.
I have a large kickoff in Cambridge, and this will be the kickoff.
Yeah, call me. I will help you.
No, I want to do it well.
Yeah, great. As we come to towards the end, and I want to use the rest of the time for a Q&A and for any questions. Yeah. Is there anything in the room?
I have a question, maybe in the second quadrant. Outer, individual outer. Can it be product vision, about product of an organization? What we output of work.
You mean measuring the product?
For example, yes.
The answer is yes. It's meaning. It's meaning, cohesion, vision. Why I am here.
The product vision would be a practice. So I would say if that would be there. Yeah. Now, if we go onto the helicopter view, is there any resonance about the exercise itself?
So, because we had a lot of discussions in our group about, and there was just the 2 of us about what's really meant, and is this really a relationship and culture issue, or is it an organizational architecture, or is it a practice of behavior issue? When you sit in a room with a group of executives or leadership people, especially if you've got a tight output team you're working with, do you run into a lot of definitional challenges, and how do you stop a session from going sideways because people want to start debating to, this tastes great, feels less kind of thing, where they want to argue where something belongs versus just getting to the core issues?
Yeah, and yeah, that this tendency can exist, and then it's about the way I do it is how I did it today, because it's actually also about alignment more than whether if it is there or not. Yeah, what we want to identify is what's unhealthy and what's healthy in our organization, and with time we will align also what needs to be in which quadrant. So I wouldn't put the emphasis on the clear delineation, because sometimes it's just not so clear.
So you would just go ahead and just throw it out there and then allow it to naturally morph through the discussion to where it belongs, or split it.
Yeah,
and have maybe part in one quadrant and part in the other quadrant.
exactly. And it turned out to be, I mean, usually, I mean, at least in the occasions when I did it, and I did it with up to 28 managing directors in the room. Of course, there is it is really yeah, maybe sometimes tense, but that's also something that we need to learn, right? So and we want to have this energy in the room.
Okay.
We want to have the dialogue. We also want that it becomes energetic at some points. Thank you.
Randolph, maybe I have.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Try you.
I have a question. So, if and then, based on your experience, if you were to do when you did these workshops, what's the approximate time that you took for these workshops?
Yeah, you should take much more time, of course, than we have here. So you should consider that you want to do maybe a little bit more of the introduction, but not much more, because we really don't want to overwhelm. We just want to use it as quickly as possible. So maybe 2 hours, something like that.
And is there a time boxing that goes, for example, this session, the collaborative session would take 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and the discussion part would take so much time? Is there a voting system where you would vote on what are the most important things that you want to talk about? No.
An important thing is to keep the time boxes during you wander through the quadrants small, so that we don't get too many post-its, right? We want to focus on the essentials. And with that, you also make sure that you can really talk about every item where there is misalignment, because that's what we want to do. So keep the time boxes at the beginning short. Maybe you sense into the room, right? Where they are. You don't want to go ahead without them having any sticky there, yeah. But don't let them go. Don't let the time boxes become too big, because otherwise, yeah.
Thank you.
Will be forever.
I can definitely see a space for like eating together somewhere during the workshop, like maybe after the initial debrief and sorting out the easy conflicts, when they are left with a small number of outstanding issues, before they jump into this, take them to some lunch or some food, right? And after food, let them jump into the toughest issues.
Or maybe during the aperitif when
Yeah.
people are drinking alcohol, maybe that will be more honest.
Yeah, you don't want to discuss things on an empty stomach, right? People are hangry.
Yeah, maybe, or you want the emotions in the room, depends on the type. Marvin,
Yes. My question is about why you divide each quadrant in two parts, good or not good, and in your explanation, you say that's not about white or black. So what about not divide each quadrant, or maybe divide it in 3 or 4 parts, not only 2?
with not black and white, of course, it's also true that is not black and white. What I meant with not black and white is that the delineation of the quadrants is not so important. But of course, it's important to align on what's limiting us and where do we already see the future in that we aspire for in place, right? Because I mean, transformation is a step-by-step process, and we want to actually creatively work with those things that we agree as an organization that limits us. Yeah? And we ideally want to identify strategies in each quadrant. So it's important that we identify the healthy and the unhealthy aspects.
I see.
That, yeah. Does this speak to your
Okay.
question? Reben.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a place where I can read more about the integral four lenses.
There's for sure, there's the book written by Michael Spade and Michel Mahon,
okay.
called Agile Transformation. And yeah, they also,
Do you have a link for that book, or
yes, we will put it into the chat.
that'd be great. Thank you.
And actually, there are many pretty well-known integral practitioners also in the near the agile space. So if you have read the book Reinventing in Organizations, of course, that's also Lou is also an integral practitioner.
Okay.
And if you have read An Everyone Culture by Robert Keegan, that's also it. So yeah. Any other question or anything else that is?
Yeah, one for me. Where does the integral agile community meet?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Let's walk with that. But for sure, the collective edge offers the opportunity to join a community after you go through the first training, the gate into this world, which is the master camp. And the next session takes place in December.
You said the collective edge.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I mean, the integral community, that's a bit bigger because this integral agile transformation framework is applying integral to the field of organizational development. But the integral movement is much bigger than that. So there are many communities out there that share knowledge in different fields. Yeah. So maybe one important thing is what's good about this debrief part, right? This is also the perfect part to go into developmental conversation with the leadership team that is in the room. So whenever there is something brought up, that's the chance for going into a dialogue to also let certain stuff, meaning invisible psychological patterns that usually rule us, show up and actually hold them, also hold the emotions that come with it, and thereby also create a transformative space. So want to emphasize that the second part of the exercise is actually where we pick the fruits, let's say. Deliberately developmental conversations that we lead during this time. Yeah, thank you, Piotr.
Right, it feels like we are getting to the end. My habit at the end of the sessions is that I usually ask our guests to end the session with kind of one high-level takeout message for the audience. If you have something like this, Randolf.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to do a checkout, and maybe a one-word checkout or a one-breath checkout. And so what is it that you take away? What's the golden nugget that you want to share with the rest of the group? And whoever wants to, please go ahead. Is this fine for you, Piotr?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll start. I think viewing most methodologies look at the organization and how to change organizational behavior, and coming at it from the two distinct perspectives of the individual, the group, and trying to understand how those two interactions work is different from most of the things I've seen.
Thank you, Mark.
No, I was talking a little earlier with Anas. Is that the right way to spell your name?
Anas.
Anas, okay. And I was talking about the transformation responsibility. It's usually if there's one person's responsibility, it's a huge task. So it has to be a collaborative effort. And for it to be a collaborative effort, you need to find true change agents. You need to find people who are really into the transformation, who are willing to work on not only at the leadership level, but also at the at the ground level, at the team levels, right? So it's when you think about transformation, that itself has a roadmap. We have to derive metrics around the roadmap. What is our expectation when it comes to agile transformation, whether it be team level or program level or portfolio level, organization level? Like what are some of the measures that we want to deliver by the end of 1 year, and keep checking on the growth, like where are we right now and how can we do better? So transformation requires a group of people who are ready to work together, but also work at different levels. And most importantly, they have to measure and grow.
Yeah, what I hear is that agile transformation is not pushing people into agile and then say we are transformed, but it's actually using agile processes and methods for the path itself. So it's about agile organization development, and really acknowledging what's there in both ways, and then taking step by step. Agility as the mean and the end. Thank you.
Well, maybe if I may join here. What I really like about it is it somehow also confirms my stance. I mean, transformation on a bigger scale is not possible if it doesn't start on an individual level. So, and this is really something what I believe in, and this is a tool which helps to reveal the system to itself, but also the individual to itself. So that's what I really like about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Come with my 5 seconds and my 5 takeaways. Is more likely it's a nice tool. I can see what we can do as an icebreaker. Would I use it as definitive? Not, because not that much, because I know our people, and people are having this locked-in syndrome. They say yes, yes, yes in a workshop, and then when they're going back to the office, they do exactly the opposite. So I'm more on that part, but I support completely the reflection. Everyone coming up to explain the agile transformation has nothing to do with TOGAF or from a software perspective, engineering perspective. This has something completely different, and is agile organization development and design is fully part of the leadership. If you want, there is 2 other organizations globally: the ODF, Organization Design Forum, or the European Organization Design Forum. You have not only agile people, but thinking that you can please come, because they're all talking about agile and I have not a clue what they're talking about.
Thank you, Pierre. Who else wants to check out with a golden nugget?
And Randolf, you're way too modest. You have to explain, we work together on a big shit of 5,000 teams, right? And I stopped the transformation.
Yeah, like so often, right? And as you said, why does it not land, right? Why does it not land? And when we leave the room,
and here comes the point you have to take. There's a point. I'm researching on the topic is when it's very large. Large starts with, let's say, 2-3 programs. Let's say 5-10 teams. The mess is starting this level. When you have the layers and the business lines, if you have to break down the silos, and if you address from a systemic perspective, you're on the right track, like you mentioned before. But a system, one person is not a system. So it's starting 3, right? In Agile is the interaction, how we interacting together. There's a lot of good writings in German. Is Führung in change. There are a lot of very good speak addressing how you have to behave. It's all based on negotiation. Then once you're at that level, you can really understand, you can measure something, and even accepting that people have a bad behavior. Because like we had a conversation with Preben, is some change come from frustrations.
Yeah, of course. That's important that we embrace also the so-called negative emotion.
And you don't need to be nice all the time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Maybe me. My takeaway is I like the format of the facilitation. Is too light. Is light enough to introduce quickly the integral approach, and to go with in 1 hour, maybe 2 hours. Go out with nice output to work with.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it gives you basically a lot of food for your transformation backlog, right? Everything that is on the unhealthy stuff, and it's a starting point. Yeah.
Yes.
And, what you pointed out very nicely, Marvin, is that you really want to bring people into the exercise as sustainably fast as possible, right? Because you don't need everything
without speaking about theory of integral or anything other.
Just use it. Just practice it. And what I wanted to say as well is, yes, change goes through the individuals. If the individuals change and we create the conditions for individual change in the collective, and also we can come together in more complex organizations, right? and at some point it shifts. Any other checkout? I know we are already 3 minutes over the time. If not, then
I'm new here. Hi guys. I'm new here, new to Agile, new to the whole world of Agile. But I want to say thank you, Randolph, just for your time and for showing us this whole process. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Thank you for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was my pleasure to host Randolph Speigner today. The recording will be shortly available on YouTube. Thank you for your participations and contribution. Hopefully see you at the next Future of Work talks in November for Digital Transformation London, agile-lean, delivery and coaching network. Stay in touch. This is our community that makes us stronger. Thank you.
Piotr, can you share the link for the channel, please? YouTube channel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. Give me a sec.
Thank you.